This is the 2025 Cadillac Celestiq. It's over $300,000, completely hand-built, totally custom for each individual owner. They're only going to build 25 of them this year. Total departure for Cadillac. It's going up against the Rolls-Royces, the Bentleys of the world. We're going to get it out on the road, see how this all comes together, see if a handcrafted Cadillac drives like you expect an ultra-luxury, ultra just gorgeous sedan to drive. You take a look around and this is what's really fun about this car. All the materials have, you know, what Cadillac calls authenticity. To us, there's a lot of stuff that just looks really, really expensive and in many cases is very sparkly. This sounds really reductive to say this, but the car just sort of glitters and you look around and you have these big screens. There's pretty much a full width display going across the foot of the windshield. You have all these metal accents, and Cadillac likes to lean into this a lot by saying, if it looks like metal, it is metal. And to anyone that remembers, you know, old General Motors interiors can appreciate what that really means. There's not a lot of parts commonality between this and any other Cadillac. There's over 150 3D printed items in this car. Most of them a sort of cool powdered metal that then gets rendered into real metal. That's where you're getting all of these sparkles from. Not only is it just because the part is shiny, but you look at these speaker grills that are etched and acid dipped and lasered into this ultra delicate lattice work, and customers can pick two different shades of this, but they can also just start to mess with the design on its own. And this is where that custom tailored ultra exclusive experience of just simply buying the car comes in. You know, Cadillac is eager to talk about how it's highly unlikely that with over 350,000 build combinations or possibilities, and that's just off the rack, you know, you could bring your own paint colors, you can bring your own materials, you can bring whatever it is. With that level of possibilities, no two Celestiqs should be alike, and they likely won't be. You know, that sort of open-ended openness to pretty much whatever your heart desires when you're designing this car is a huge part of what makes this a $300,000+ car. It's not simply that the car's expensive, these materials are expensive. The level of customer service that Cadillac is engaging here, the level of design, is unreal. The car deserves its own coffee table book that just goes into all these things. GM may not have these craftspeople who've been tanning leather a certain way for ages the way Rolls-Royce might have. They're selling a completely different kind of handmade story here. It's very industrial. It's like showing off what GM can do with their engineering when they're just allowed to run hog wild over budgets and suppliers, whatever. They can just do it to the maximum, and you find that throughout. And it's all these really, really impressive stories of craftsmanship, yes, but it's like cool industrial might and like ingenuity and innovation. And you just can't appreciate it enough every time you sit in the car. So while my eyes are getting dazzled by all these sparkly bits inside, and onlookers, anyone outside the car, their jaws are dropping because it just looks like a concept car. So if the interior is all about this handcrafted, 3D printed, just crazy craftsmanship, the outside is all about form factor. It's just a designer's dream. And you could just tell they were allowed to let loose. And it looks like a show car for the road. So as you can see, the outside of the Celestiq is very show car. It's, you know, the scale is massive. These wheels are massive. These are the smaller of the two wheel choices, and they're 22 inches. So we're talking like Escalade sized bits slathered on this massive low slung sedan. And, you know, the material quality, just like the interior, is there. It's just rendered in painted surfaces, obviously. This is all carbon fiber. There's this blow molded aluminum, some 3D printed metal, and the jewelry is toned back a lot, versus the, interior. It's just, the effect is wild. There's no door handles. So you just have this completely smooth body side and, just a little bit of jewelry from the LEDs, that Cadillac signature vertical lighting. It is amazing. So Cadillac entering this space, it's over 300 grand, hand built, everything is to your spec, everything's sumptuous, everything feels special. So how does it drive? The driving experience is great. It's pretty much binary. There's two choices, which is Tour, which is your kind of baseline, and then Sport. That's it. Those are the two choices that Cadillac gives you. And you can go through and individualize a setting to your own liking, but it's nice how simple this is because, again, the focus is on, in order, design, then luxury, and then we have this driving experience, which the big question is, does it live up to this price point? And the only real competitor it has in this space, which is to say the only other all-electric, ultra-luxury car that isn't an SUV, would be the Rolls-Royce Spectre. Now that only has 2 doors, this has 4, but you can argue this has a pretty coupy roofline, both seat 4. They're very, very closely matched. They're both huge. They're both well isolated. And Rolls-Royce obviously has been in this space forever. They're the benchmark. They're up there. If you're buying something that costs as much as your house, you're looking at a Rolls-Royce. So can Cadillac get up there with the Celestiq? It's a great question. Having driven both cars now, this is a little more connected. It's a little more Cadillac. You feel a little bit more road under the tires. The body is flatter. It's not to say that the Spectre flops around or is this, old-timey boat or anything like that. In the Cadillac, they're taking a lot of that know-how that they've applied across their sedan lineup in recent years, where you have cars like the CT5 Blackwing or the CT4 Blackwing. These are track specials. They're super great to drive. It recalls, they're like an American BMW. Great. This car has just enough of that sizzle to remind you that there's a connection to the brand without interrupting that Rolls-Royce waftiness and the comfort. And then if I go and switch to Sport, again, pretty much the only other setting, this tightens things up just enough where if for whatever reason you were in a big hurry in your big Cadillac, and you're going to feel very confident running down the road, even though this thing is humongous, it feels incredibly wide. It fills up a lane, but the steering weights up a little bit. You get a little more immediacy out of the motor's response. The car shrinks around you. It has rear wheel steering. It has these active anti-roll bars that resist lean. So I'm not flopping over in my seat right now, even though we're in a 3+ ton, all-electric, ultra-luxury land yacht for all intents and purposes. Well, if you really need to hustle, you get the maximum juice from this V button. Now this is about the closest thing you're going to get to a sport mode overall, because even the regular sport mode is genteel. It's about sort of moving swiftly, not, tearing up a racetrack. But really all this does is click it, and now you get all of the power. Since these are the same motors that motivate the much smaller Lyriq V Sport SUV, strapped to this much bigger car, you're not getting a lot of this wow factor. This is not a Lucid Air Sapphire, but it's pretty competitive with that Spectre. It'll come down to an owner's preference, but this car's duality where you're mostly comfortable even when hustling it in this sport mode, and then you switch back to Tour and you're just wafting down the road. I mean, just soaking things up. We're just floating along without getting seasick, and it's just a really, really satisfying car to cruise around in. So after driving this Celestiq, sitting in the Celestiq, enjoying the Celestiq, beholding the Celestiq, is it a viable $300,000 Cadillac? Absolutely. If you were to go through this process start to finish, spec one out, do the whole rigmarole, picking out your colors and your materials, and then you take it home and actually drive it and own it, it looks like a concept car that just happens to be out in the real world. It's incredibly rare. It absolutely could go up against a Rolls-Royce and not seem ridiculous doing that. This is totally new territory for Cadillac, and it is an absolute stunner of a car. Head on over to motortrend.com for the full drive story.